Hello there. Welcome to SJ Global. I am Minister Jackson. This is Church, Community, and Social Justice. Our subtitle today is Thriving in Egypt. I'll repeat, Thriving in Egypt. Our text comes from Genesis chapter 41, verses 50 through 52. Again, Genesis chapter 41, 50 through 52. I will be paraphrasing some of the text, and I will be reading from two translations, which is one is the New American Standard Bible and one is the Message Bible. But I promise you, we will get to the same place in the text. So today, I'm excited to be ministering to you today. We're going to reach back to a very powerful portion of biblical history in Genesis. We're going to look again at the life of Joseph. Look again at the life of Joseph. We recently reviewed Joseph's style of management during the time of famine and also during the time of prosperity. We looked at how he acted strategically during both conditions, famine and prosperity. We saw how Joseph listened to God as he was led to store up when needed and also distribute when needed. We gained great hope in his life's journey from being an outcast, from being in prison, to becoming a leader over much and having much more than he could count. The Bible referenced that it was more than the amount of sand in the ocean, so much that he could not even count it. What a blessing. So again, our text is coming from Genesis chapter 41, verse 50 through 52. And I'll read from the New American Standard version of the Bible text. It states, before the year of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, bore to him. Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made him forget all my troubles and all my father's household. He named the second son Ephraim, for he said, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the Message translation of that text goes on to state, when he named Manasseh, he said, God made me forget all my hardships and my parental home. He named his second son Ephraim, double prosperity, meaning that God has prospered me in the land of my sorrow. Joseph was given a double portion to him because he was the firstborn. You may have heard about Joseph's life, the coat of many colors, the childhood story regarding how he was treated, and the conspiracy against Joseph. And he was born with rights to the double portion. He was born to get a portion of his father's Jacob's inheritance. It will actually go to Joseph, and then it would trickle down to Joseph's sons. So Joseph's sons were Manasseh and Ephraim. They were the only two of Jacob's grandchildren to be born in a foreign land. Manasseh and Ephraim was born to Joseph and his wife in Egypt. And Jacob had no other children born in a foreign land, but these two boys were born and raised in Egypt. Born and raised in Egypt. Egypt was the place where no one expected anything to thrive, meaning that, what can survive this place? Can any good thing come from this place? Egypt was the place where no one was expected to thrive. It was a place of dream consumption, where dreams were consumed. It was the place that consumed the life and joy out of a person. Egypt was often a place of hardship, and people tried to constantly flee or run away from Egypt constantly. Egypt, to them, was a place of bondage. A place of bondage. But Egypt was also a place of testing. It was a place of testing. Egypt was also a place of survival for most. It was a haven for people that wanted to worship false gods and do false worship. So much of that was going on in Egypt. Yet, Joseph performed his greatest service to God and his people in that place. In that place of Egypt, Joseph flourished in Egypt. His obedience to God shined so bright in Egypt, and everyone could see God through Joseph's act of obedience. So every time Joseph did what God wanted him to do, the people saw God through Joseph. Oh my goodness, the people saw God through Joseph. I pray that he can say the same about us. The people saw God through Joseph. So the biblical account exposes an incredible strength to survive. I mean, this story, it shows an incredible strength to survive, and not only to survive, beloved, but to persevere, to press forward, to the ability to be able to conquer those things of your past, to conquer your past so that it no longer holds you captive in the night seasons, the ability to flourish even under pressure or the most trying of circumstances. This passage, this biblical account represents an incredible strength that Joseph acted out in this portion of his life. This place of Egypt gave opportunities for distress and destruction. There were plenty of opportunities for destruction. Yet at the same time, beloved, the same time there was plenty of opportunities for survival. Every day, either of the two could be chosen. Between you and I, every day, either of the two could be chosen. Every day we wake up, we have an opportunity to choose life, to choose to survive, to press on, to thrive in our current circumstances, or we can choose to be destroyed, to be distressed, to be stressed, to be pressed down and not relieved. Every day presents that opportunity. And the same was in Egypt. Every day in Egypt presented an opportunity to be destroyed, and it presented an opportunity to persevere through any tough times or any place that they were. And just look at this year alone in 2020. Every day affords you and I the opportunity to become destructive, to be angry, to look at what's on the news and what we hear, what you see by any avenue of social media, and the things that are occurring in your local area as well as throughout this nation. Every day presents an opportunity lately for you to be angry and stressed out, for you to buckle under the pressures, for you to succumb to the temptations. Every day presents the opportunity for you to give in to your temptations. Every day presents the opportunity for you to give into the evils of that day, the evils of that day. Every day, you and I have the opportunity to survive our previous traumas, the opportunity to allow what previously occurred in our life, whether it's early adulthood, childhood, later adulthood, those things that previously occurred. Every day we wake up, we have the opportunity to allow those things to oppress us once again. Those things from the previous day. Every day you wake up with a decision to make. Every day you can see the manifestation of healing in your life if you choose to. Every day you can have the love of the Savior that is always present. So every day presents these opportunities, as well as every day may present a challenge if you are not strong enough. And as believers in Jesus Christ, we are presented with these opportunities so that we can choose mercy, choose love, choose God's protection and God's wisdom. God's protection and God's wisdom. So I hope you choose wisely every day, but just believe that it's not just you that have to choose. You wake up every day and set your mind on the things of God. You wake up every day and, submit your thoughts, submit your ideas, submit your will to God every single day so that He can help you every single day. Because every day affords an opportunity for you to give attention to something that God do not want you to give attention to. So let's go back. I love it. Let's go back and look at the two sons, Manasseh, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Manasseh and Ephraim, Joseph's sons. So again, Joseph was the son of Jacob. And Jacob was coming to the point where he was going to pass away, and he called for Joseph to be at his side, and he wanted to see Joseph's two sons. He wanted to give them the blessing. The father's blessing is what he wanted to give them. But Jacob ended up adopting basically Joseph's son. He took them in as they were his own children, giving them the inheritance of sons, not grandsons, but his sons. And they received their own portion in their own land and so forth. Jacob really esteemed these two boys. He really did. He really took these two boys in. And these two boys were not even, they didn't live the life that Jacob saw his other kids live, but he had an attachment and a love for these two boys. They were born in Egypt and they were raised in Egypt. They were raised in a place where they seen so much of just not enough. I would say so much of just not enough. But Jacob knew that Ephraim and Manasseh were the only ones in his lineage to have been born in Egypt. Jacob had so many children and grandchildren in his lineage, his bloodline, but he knew that they were the only two boys who had lived their life in a place of not enough. They were the only two boys who had lived in Egypt all their life. So Jacob knew that in generations to come, people would be wandering through their own personal Egypts and in their own personal distress and circumstances and their own exiles. But he knew that generations to come, people were going to be experiencing some things that his people could not handle because they've never seen it before. So he understood that sometimes the fight for righteousness would be met with hostility and challenge. Sometimes the fight for righteousness is met with hostility and challenge. And he knew that a nation needed people, or the nation needed sons and daughters. A nation needed, for him, they needed the sons who have lived amongst the heathens, that lived amongst those who practice evil, that have lived amongst those who worship idol gods and false gods, those who have lived amongst the modern day pharaohs and still kept their love and still kept their stand for righteousness for Christ's cause. He knew that his people couldn't relate to what the world needed. So he knew that these children, they have grew up with some things that can't be taught, some experiences that were embedded in them. They saw some things and they could relate to the people of the future, and they can inspire people that was coming down those generations. So due to Joseph's obedience, my God, those kids gained so many rights to the kingdom. Due to the obedience, your children would gain rights to the kingdom. Jacob knew that these boys were born and raised in a place that required strength from them, that required them to be so resilient, that required leadership characteristics that could not be taught. Some things can't be taught. Some things are gained by experience, and these boys had experience. And those things Jacob saw in them, they had been exposed to a different type of struggle that were not common to the people that had lived in the palace and have been raised in Jacob's house, Jacob's land. They had a different type of backbone. Their backbone was strong. They had this strong backbone. They knew how to survive in a place that rejected God. They knew how to survive in a place that questioned God's existence. Even today, we have to learn how to survive in a place that reject God and survive in a place that rejects his existence and still thrive. Not run, not hide, but stand flat footed and still thrive. Do what God has called you to do because you know what God has called you to do. No matter what the naysayers or the confused people may say, you know what God calls you to called you to do. It is your time to stand and thrive in any circumstance. Joseph Joseph was so purposeful in naming his children. He was so purposeful in naming them. He named Manasseh, meaning forget. Joseph referred to his struggles from his childhood and being an outcast and the moments where he felt strained and the moments where he felt so alone. He reflected on things that occurred in his past. He wanted to no longer remember. Have you been to the place where you don't want to remember? He no longer wanted to remember, and he no longer wanted to battle with the emotions of what occurred in his past. He wanted to no longer remember the broken and strained relationships. He wanted to no longer remember the lies that were told to him. And he battled to forget. You know, have you ever battled to forget something you really want to forget, but it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up in your head? He battled to forget. So I ask you, what are you battling to forget? What are the things in your past days that still haunt you? What are those thoughts that you can't put away no matter how hard you try? What consumes you? What takes a hold of your emotions and a hold of how you feel and takes a hold of your mind? It drains you and takes a hold. What takes hold of your energy? Joseph had those things that tried to consume him from his past. His integrity was tested every day. His wisdom was tested. His love was tested. His beliefs, his morals, everything was challenged. Everything was challenged. Joseph was preparing for a drought season. Remember the 7 years of famine, the 7 years of prosperity. Joseph was preparing for a drought season. When God gave him, he prepared for a drought, but then God gave him a blessing that would reach forward. Can we say that? A blessing that will reach forward. God, give us a blessing that reaches forward, a forward blessing, a generational blessing. God, generational blessings, a blessing that extended legacy and captured the inheritance. It extended legacy like you're fishing. He extended legacy and captured inheritance. He captured those things that other people didn't want him to have, those things that was given to him from birth, but others didn't want him to receive it. Joseph was being obedient while in a place of distress. He was obedient in his distress. And all the while, God was preparing his future. All the while, God was preparing his forward blessing. He was getting his portion. He was getting his portion. Oh my goodness. I love that. He named the other son Ephraim. Ephraim double prosperity, saying that he said that God had prospered me in the land of my sorrow. Prosper me in the land of my sorrow. Even though he saw insufficiency all everywhere around him in Egypt, God honored that covenant. He honored that covenant. He gave Joseph wisdom. He gave him notoriety. He gave Joseph strength. Even in the land that had widespread lack or famine, it's like during the just like during the outbreak of COVID, you have mass job loss, you have mass sickness, and you're mass disease. All the while, there's mass uncertainties happening, mass depression, generational and systemic racism. But still, God is prospering you by means of good health. He's prospering you by means of a food supply, by means of financial resources, by means of time with loved ones, even in a land that is rich in sorrow. Even in lands that rich in sorrow, even in 2020, while our land is rich in sorrow, God is still making a way. He is still making a way. Even when it seems hard for you to let go of old drama or old memories, because remember, Joseph, he battled forgetting. You know, even during the times of old drama, God is making you stronger, whisper by whisper. He's making you stronger moment by moment, step by step, and from faith to faith, developing inside of you a strength that cannot be consumed. A strength that cannot be consumed. And in this time, you must be so committed to the cause of Christ and determined to be a vessel. Be so committed to God's cause and determined to be a vessel that can spread the gospel, to be a vessel that can spread the good news, to be a vessel that can heal the sick, feed the poor, tend to the needy, help the lame walk, a vessel that can conquer the past, a vessel that can become whole again, a vessel that can heal deep wounds and maintain a healthy soul, to move with the Spirit of God that is within you, a vessel that can move with the Spirit of God that is within you. The meaning of Joseph's sons, the name, this name, it makes me think that I didn't put much planning in my kids' names, but the meaning of Joseph's son's name had everything to do with Joseph's awareness that it was God and God alone. He named his boys with the awareness that it is God and God alone who set him free and made him fruitful even in his afflictions, made him fruitful in afflictions, as he stated. Egypt was meant to be a place of limitations, a place of limitations. And Joseph named his sons because of the miracle God had performed in his life. Joseph recognized the transitions that he experienced while under God's protection. You look back and you see how far God has brought you. That's what he did. He recognized the transitions that he had experienced while under God's protection. Have you recognized the transitions that you have experienced in your life while under God's protection? God, God's protection. God was so faithful to Joseph. God gave Joseph the ability to survive and succeed against all odds in that land that was full of limitations and distress. Joseph became a living example. He was a living example for other people to come out of Egypt. He was an example for them because they saw God through Joseph. They saw a redeemer working in the midst of Joseph. They saw their strength and they too were able to escape the limitations of Egypt. If you ask why, you ask yourself sometimes, when you've gone through things, again, looking back on those transitions of experiences that have occurred in your life under God's protection. And you can look back sometimes and say, whoo, God, I could have lost my mind. Look, you can say, I don't understand why I didn't have a nervous breakdown when that had occurred. All that has happened in my life, Lord, you can look back and see how far God had reached back for you. You question as to how are you still functioning despite what happened to you, despite what you saw around you. How you say, Lord, how am I still functioning? Only by the grace of God. It is not by accident. It is God's divine plan. So whatever you have been through, you still tracking with God. It is a part of the plan for your life. What I have been through, I'm still tracking with God. It was a part of the plan for my life. Some things I had to learn, some things I learned that I necessarily didn't have to go through, but all of those things will work out for God's good as long as I serve Him. He will get the glory. As long as you serve God, no matter what happened around you, God will make a way and He will get the glory. It is all the things that are occurring around you are not by accident in reference to those things that God had put in front of you and enable you to do so that you can show God, so that people can experience God through you. So it is important that you survive the afflictions. It is important. Survival is not the end because we must learn to thrive. It's not to say that, yeah, I survived that, but did you thrive in that area? Did you gain strength from that particular thing, that particular setting, that particular surrounding? Where and however where you find yourself right now, you must thrive. It is so important that you not only survive this thing, it is so important that you not only survive 2020. It is important that you thrive in 2020. Thrive in 2020. You must be productive. You must be productive. Live on to declare God's goodness. Why should you do that? Why should you get up and be productive in any type of distress? Because it is not about you. It is not about you. God give you breath of a day, and every day He give you breath. It is not about you. It is not yours to take. It is not about you. It was not just about Joseph. It wasn't just about Joseph. Joseph experienced all of that, but it wasn't just about Joseph. It was about the people that could come across Joseph and have an experience and have an impact moment with God. It was about the people that will come across Joseph and see God and have their needs met. It was about so people can look at Joseph and see God's grace on his life and the grace that gave him the boldness to come out of Egypt. This grace gave them the boldness to come out of Egypt. It was not about Joseph. It was about the people that will be touched, the people that will experience God, the people that will connect and gain relationship with the Most High just because Joseph was obedient and just because they came across Joseph. So whatever state you find yourself in, if God has given you breath today, it is not about you. People are out there needing to see the Redeemer working in the midst of you so that they too can come out of their exile, that they too can be redeemed, so that they too can come out of their personal Egypt. It was not about Joseph. It is not about you and it's not about me. It is about God's kingdom. It is about His people so that people can connect with God's grace and mercy. They saw the boldness. People need to see your boldness to thrive, your boldness to be productive, so that they will want to copycat your boldness and change their own lives. People came out of Egypt just because they saw God working in Joseph. And because he was so obedient, God gave him forward blessings. Forward blessings, his children's children. He later on went and bestowed the blessings on his own grandchildren, just as his father had done. Forward blessings. Be productive and thrive. It is not by accident. People need to see you so that they can come out. So you have to thrive in Egypt. Whatever your Egypt may be, whatever state you find yourself in, no matter what is going on around us in this world, the Egypt of this world, we're going to walk amidst the pharaohs of this world, and we are going to thrive and be productive for God's kingdom. This has been church, community, and social justice with Minister Jackson. Stay tuned for our ministry happenings by downloading the Kingdom Purpose TV app for Apple and Android on your mobile devices or tablets. Once you download that app, though, go to notifications so that you can be alerted to all of our ministry activities. And you can also give to support our ministry through the Kingdom Purpose TV app or the website at sjglobal.me. If you are in need of prayer, KPTV or Kingdom Purpose TV has 24-hour prayer counselors ready and awaiting your prayer requests. So come on, reach out to them by going to the KPTV app, or you can just pick up the phone and call and ask them to pray with you, or just text them and they will pray with you at 888-327-7729. Again, 888-327-7729. So until next time, you be blessed and you continue to thrive.